I cannot believe how much you guys loved that last video about One Piece, so I'm getting right back to it, and one of the consistent comments I got was to talk about one of my least favorite arcs, being Thriller Park. Thriller Park was definitely one of the more boring parts of the show for me. It just really dragged on, and I don't know if anyone here has watched the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, like the early one, but a lot of it felt like that 60 episode stretch where they were in the virtual world, and it was impossible to watch because it felt like just filler. That's what this felt like. It was just the zombies and the nonsense. It was so stupid. And it's just like the only part that I enjoyed, like really, really enjoyed, was Brook, his introduction, and just everything we knew about him, and he was still kind of mysterious at that point in time. Like that, the only thing I was really looking forward to is seeing kind of how he handles the whole thing, and he wasn't really in a ton of it. Like up until the end, he was in at the very beginning to get them to Thriller Park, and then he was there kind of at the end and had his influence that way, but I don't know. It wasn't all the most enjoyable thing. It dragged on so very long. All the different monsters and stuff, it felt so fillery. It didn't feel like anything that was going to stick around for any substantial amount of time. And Gecko Moria himself was, don't get me wrong, he was very, very scary. He was very cool, very good villain, but he just kind of, I don't want to say bored me, but he just didn't impress me. Oars, the giant monster guy that he took care of, that was cool, and that was a whole cool thing that they got to get into, but I don't know, it just didn't interest me. Everything from Gecko Moria's Devil Fruit to Oars, like I just mentioned, there were so many things that should have been really, really interesting about this arc, and it just kind of all felt flat and felt like it was all really stretched out. It felt like the longest arc to get through, and it was one of the first times watching this show where I was looking up the fucking episodes and being like, when is this over? When can I get to something way more entertaining? And don't get me wrong, I feel like it immediately picked up, and I don't know if Thriller Park suffered from the show getting so good after it, but it was the last arc where I was just like, this isn't a great show.
Hey y'all, come look at this.
Immediately after they leave Thriller Park, they start getting into the Sabaody Archipelago, and that leads into the Battle of the Best, and Enies Lobby, and all these other things that are amazing, and eventually the time skip. And it was just like, I don't know if the Thriller Park suffered from not getting the attention it needed to because they knew what was coming up, but I don't know, it just felt like a waste of my time, and they were trying to just get us to something really entertaining. And luckily it got there, and it was really entertaining, but it didn't blow me away, and it wasn't something that kept me entertained and kept me watching dozens of episodes every night like the later arcs did. And there is a really big part of me that feels like they recognize this issue, because I felt like later on getting to Punk Hazard, and I felt like a beat for beat replacement of Thriller Park, but just better. And I don't know how consistent that is, because again, this is a manga first, they're not going off of the anime pacing, but just Thriller Park and Punk Hazard were very similar stories. You got a high-pitched villain who has all these servants underneath him. He's doing weird stuff. Half the crew gets kidnapped in the middle of everything. It's up to Luffy to almost save everything. There's better comparisons out there. I'm not saying it's a beat for beat ripoff, but I am saying that it was similar enough, and I liked Punk Hazard so much more that it makes it even more obvious how bad Thriller Park was. The only saving grace of this arc, in my opinion, is we did get Brook out of it, and shout out to Brook, I love that man. And then also we got Shisui, or however you say it, the Zoro's sword, the demon sword. And I love the backstory to Zoro's swords. I think it's just a really cool touch that each one of these swords has their own story that we now all know very in-depth. You got the demon sword, the sword he got from his dead friend, and now you got this new Shisui, or whatever it is. And by the time where I am in the show right now, they're in Dressrosa, they know it's from the Wano Kingdom, people are recognizing the sword by name. It's just a cool thing. It's almost like a secondary character that's been added because it has all this depth to it and all this knowledge behind it that we don't even really know yet, that is just going to be explored later. You know what part of this arc I did really like? Everything to do with Kuma. I completely forgot that he was part of this arc until I started making this video. I think I just so closely associate him with the next arc but everything to do with him, the whole Zoro's, like, moment where he, like, takes all of the pain from Luffy and he doesn't say anything, very cool, awesome, completely saved this arc, but I don't even attribute it to this arc, because I feel like they just had everything with the archipelago lined up, and they were just like, let's just sneak this in here, let's end the hell out of fucking Punk Hazard, end the hell out of Thriller Bark, and just be done with it. I don't know, Kuma was so cool, and it led into so much cool stuff, but Kuma saved this arc, oh my god.